What's up, friends? Thank you so much for tuning in. We are staying on that multitasking full face palette train today, and we're talking about this one from Charlotte Tilbury. Let me just say there are a lot of things I can say no to from this brand, but she came back this year with an instant look at a palette, and I feel like it's been several years since she has, and it definitely caught my eye as something I really wanted to try. Let's just look at the outside for a minute. I'm not sure if the camera is doing this one justice because it is absolutely dazzling. It's actually kind of a puffy material, but it's still kind of slick on the outside. And when you look at this really in low lighting, it just sparkles. But this is the look on the inside. This is the one I chose. There are two different looks. This is the one called Dreamy Bronzed Beauty. I got it from Ulta's website for $69. And then there's Pretty Glowing Beauty, which is just a lot lighter in every way it seems. And I just found this one to be way more interesting and way more promising, I thought, in terms of what's inside and color payoff, color intensity. I could have maybe gone either way, but it seemed like, just by what I saw on the website, that the eyeshadows in the lighter one would have done just not a lot for me. So anyway, here we are with this guy, and it contains a face powder, which they say is the actual Airbrush Flawless Finish pressed powder in here. Then we have bronzer, we have matte blush, glowy blush, and the three eyeshadows. Two are extremely shimmery, lots of sparkle. This is not my first time using this one, by the way. But yeah, I'm familiar with her concept here. I'm familiar with the expense of it. I've had a couple of these in the past that I actually really liked and used quite a bit. So I was most definitely drawn in when I saw this available, and you can get it on Ulta's website. It looks like it'll soon be available on Sephora's website. I'm shooting this on Monday morning. Happy Monday! I feel like I'm a little behind, but I want to tell you what I'm wearing on my face right now. So I've done my makeup up to the point where I can incorporate some of these things. I'm using Rimmel Multitasker Primer with like every look. It's working really well. It's like a clear gel type of primer, like a gripping primer, but not too sticky. So I've been liking that. I use my Catrice HD Liquid Coverage on top of that, and that's in the shade Sand Beige. Love it. I did a restock on just plain old e.l.f. Camo Concealer because I was using my older one, and I was like, gosh, I really do love this formula, but the shade was kind of dark. I think I got light peach in this, but I don't know why it doesn't say that on the sticker anywhere. I set my under eyes with the L'Oreal Infallible Blurfection in the pink light shade, and I'm kind of realizing like, yeah, I could have used the powder in here, but we're going to use that all over the face still. Milani eyeshadow primer is on. I use my Benefit Precisely My Brow Pencil and my Morphe Micromanager Gripping Brow Gel to get my brows in place. And as far as the powder that's in here, you know, the Airbrush Flawless Finish powder, the one that comes in the pretty little like golden compact that everyone loves, it seems to me as I toggle back and forth between the pictures of both of these palettes, this one might be slightly deeper than what's included in the lighter palette. That's just the way it looks from the pictures. It also seems like the bronzer is deeper, and there's just more intensity in everything really with this palette. But I still thought, you know, that's probably going to be plenty light for me, and it is. It works out. Like, we could take a little brush with this. Compact brushes fit well here, but really fluffy brushes might not. But like, I can go over again the under eye area, and I feel like that's great, you know? I do like the texture of this powder. Yesterday, or what was the last day I was wearing this? Day before, I just used it like a finishing powder at the end of my look, and I'm like, yeah, that is a really good powder. You know, it's soft, it's buttery, but it doesn't give too much. It's not like powder foundation, but it still has a really pleasant feel. So for now, I'm just kind of putting it over T-zone, and I think it looks really good. The next thing I'm going to do is go into the bronzer right over here, okay? So we're going to get into that with this is my Morphe Powder Bronzer Brush, the 241. I'm going to take this, and this can be quite intense. As you might notice, like, the brush picked up a decent amount, but I have no problem getting this blended into my skin. Okay, just stamping into it. It really makes you think when you see this palette and you think like, okay, so this is $20 more than what she said the Laura Geller full face one was. Yeah, that's correct. And you're getting so much more in that one, so many more eyeshadows. However, this is like a compact, easy palette, and I'm always wanting to know if the grouping of what's in here is really legit, really good. Contouring with this, and then I'm kind of like really buffing it in because the bronzer can be intense. It's just so blendable though. Like, you get it somewhere and you can completely blend it in. It's not streaky. I've got good things to say about the face stuff in this palette. Eye stuff I have some comments on. Hi, Bisky. But I really like how they put the face powder in, because that's something that was definitely missing in past Instant Look in a palettes. Okay, there's that. Next up, I'm going to go over to the matte blush. Kind of soft berry blush. And yes, you can use these steps in your eyeshadow look to make a little bit more of your shadow. That shade is so pretty. It looks so good. Just a little bit on the brush. And yes, I am kind of saving some bare space there because I want to put some of the glowy blush on too. This is the Glow blush. I'm going to get a little swatch of it so you can tell what's going on there. It is decently shiny, kind of warm. It adds a little more warmth to your blush look. The texture of it, it feels kind of like solid. You are going to pick it up on your brush, but not too much. I'm going to get this kind of going right here on the apple of the cheek because we don't have highlighter in here, but we do have this blush that leaves us with a little bit of pretty glow. And I can be content with that. I'm okay with that decision. If it was a decision of, do we put in a highlighter or do we put in this pressed powder? I'll take the pressed powder every day. But we did a little blush layering there. You could pick one or the other. I do think the glowy blush is intense enough to stand alone. The other day I used that one first just to kind of be sure, and it looked good. And then, like I said, once you're done with those face steps, I actually thought it looked really nice to just kind of go over the top with a light bit of the Flawless Finish powder. The under eyes. You come down here and like kind of blend out on the bottom of stuff, go up across the forehead. Like, that's a great finished face look. I really do like the face steps. If they even just made it a face palette and cut the price in half and maybe made these pans a little bigger, I could really get on board with that. And there is a nice mirror in here, by the way. Good for travel. Let's get started on the eyes. You're gonna see what kind of gets me here with this palette, okay? Now, we have 3 eyeshadows. One says Smoke and it's matte and it's kind of a berry color. I love it. And then we have Eye Enhance, that's the middle one, and it looks like kind of a tan shimmer, and then a really glazy sheer glaze that's right there on my ring finger. That's the one at the end of this palette that's called Brighten. They are kind of a gritty texture to the touch. As you can see, they have that wet look as they're on, but there's a lot of micro fine sparkle. If you go ahead and like then put your swatches on your hand, that's where I think you see like, okay, there's tons of itty bitty sparkle in these shades. In both of them, like, why did we need 2 that are basically like that? This one's real shiny, you know, the one in the middle, and then the next one's like just shiny but more sheer, less color payoff basically. That's what we've got. Now, as you're looking on the website and you look at the like how to use section, it says Charlotte's easy trick for bigger, brighter eyes. It says add further depth to an eye look with the bronzer shade, and they say you can add brightness and lift by using the Airbrush Flawless Finish powder, like to your brow bone and stuff. So yeah, I actually am going to use her as kind of a transition type of shade in my look. So I'm going to use my crease brush with that and just start getting that into my crease. Sometimes I really wonder why they're making the call that they made. Like, it's such a compact palette. Decisions are everything. The design is everything. With what products get to live in this small palette, it's going to have 3 eyeshadows. What's the smartest choice we could make with those? I would have replaced one of those with something mid-tone and matte. Or maybe, since we are able to use bronzer in the crease as well, maybe I would have put in yet another deep shade, but a slightly different color tone. I just know I wouldn't have done that. And it makes me a little disappointed because that's really where the palette falls apart a little bit for me, is getting into those shades. You'll see in the application. I don't want to just talk it all through before I show you, but it's not like it's a total dud. But man, it really is one of those things where you're paying a good amount of money for this. Every part should function the way you want it to, you know? You can clean off your brush a little bit. You can pick up some of that Flawless Finish powder and use it kind of like a highlighter or like an additional smoothing shade for sure. The first time I used this, I actually didn't even incorporate the bronzer. I'm just like, what will the eyeshadows do alone? And I really did like this smoke color over here. I like the intensity. I'm using it with the Morphe M303 brush. Without using bronzer, the first thing I would do is just take this and do what I'm doing now and put it in the outer corner and get it kind of blended into the crease. And then I just basically blended over this with my crease brush. And, you know, that did a great job for the look. So you don't have to use the face steps on the eyes. But I do kind of like having the bronzer there. But I love this tone. I feel like it's true to color, pigmented. It applies super easily. Like, it's intense, but it's manageable. no complaints. And it's a color I just truly love using in eyeshadow, which is kind of this berry type of shade. I think it goes well with a bronzy look too. Like, it's just absolutely yay on that. And I'm just taking my crease brush over it, and then my blending is basically done. Now, the Morphe M303 makes life easier, as I say every time, because when you're going on the lid, it's actually also working for you in the crease because it's got that little bit of fluff at the end, just slightly. But look at that, it just really blended. So happy with it. If you wanted more pinpointed intensity or shape, small pointed brush from Profusion, and I wouldn't even feel like I had to do this, but I'm just showing you, like, if you wanted to shape it out more, give yourself more lift, have a little more control about exactly the way that shadow is shaped, now would be your time to bring in that smaller brush for that step. But I don't even think it's absolutely necessary. Like, that was so easy to blend. And you could sidestep your shimmers by just putting some of this on your lid. But let's face it, there's 3 eyeshadows up there, and I'm going to show you what they look like. And it's really hit and miss. Textures like this that feel dry to the touch. If you see this in a store, I encourage you to touch the eyeshadows and notice how they feel dry to the touch, but they are incorporating this very, very fine sparkle. That's kind of a red flag texture to me, and it did indeed kind of fall down on my face. Now, I don't have this issue with the Patrick Ta eyeshadows in those palettes where, yes, they have some microfine sparkle as well, but you know what? It's embedded in an overall creamier feeling texture of eyeshadow. And I think that's what's working for it. Like, I put it on top of my eye primer and somehow that stuff manages to adhere and stay in place all day. This is a little bit more likely to flake. I'm not saying it makes or breaks the entire face if you have a rogue sparkle or two, but be prepared for that. I'm going to take the Eye Enhance shade right here. So this is the one that I think gives off a little more color. It looks kind of like taupey tan, actually, as it works out on the lid. It looks like a straight classic grayish taupe almost in the pan. But as you see that shimmer and you see the color blend into your look, I think you notice, like, okay, it has this like tan appearance and then the sparkle. So I'm applying that over the majority of my remaining lid space here, and you get that shiny, wet shine look. I would say you more so achieve that look from a distance. If you're really close into it, you see these little bitty, like, kind of microfine glittery sparkles. This is my Morphe M302, a little bit smaller than the brush we applied the matte eyeshadow with. Okay, so we've put that there. I'm going to clean off my brush. I'm going to say, let's show you the Brighten shade. It says Brighten. We pick some of that up and we realize, like, okay, it's just like more sparkle, but less opaque color. Like, I don't get it. It's doing something on there. It's putting more sparkly bits, but it just feels like there's less actual colored eyeshadow in this. And I can't just keep building forever, guys, because then it's got nothing to stick to. But it's on there. I applied it. You really can't tell where the first one I put on starts and the next one ends because they just kind of look like one and the same. We didn't need 2 of those in there. That's my complaint. When it's only a 3 eyeshadow palette, like, your choices matter a lot. I just don't think that was a choice that benefits us that much. And I look at the other option, the lighter one, and see, like, well, what did they do? It looks like they also have 2 shimmers. They look more different from one another. The matte looks really light in there, so I never really even fought with the decision of which one to get because I just thought that doesn't look like it's gonna go anywhere. Like, the eyeshadow is lighter than the bronzer in that palette. Sometimes you look at pictures online and you're like, well, how accurate could this be? Maybe it's more colorful in person, but it's blatantly obvious that the face bronzer shade is way deeper than your darkest eyeshadow in that lighter tone palette. I like putting a little bit of that berry eyeshadow on the lower lash line for just some softness there. I'm gonna do a little bit of liner, finish off my look, and we'll join you with some final thoughts. Alrighty, my loves, here's the finished look. What did I do to wrap up this look? Just a couple things on the eyes. I did some eyeliner. This is my Profusion Seamless Strokes Precision Gel Liner. It's a very skinny pencil and the shade is dark roast, so it's like a super dark brown. And I have that like 3/4 of the way in on my upper lash line. What's on the lower lash line is still just that eyeshadow that you saw me put there, but I have this close to my lash line up top, and then I use my Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect on the upper, e.l.f. Lash Extender because it's a tubing mascara that won't smudge on the lower lashes. Does this all come together for a good eye look? Like, this is fine. Like, I'm happy to wear this eye look. I'll be content wearing this today. It just irritates me a little bit that the cost of the palette is so high and that there's something in there that just doesn't really sit right with me. Like, I don't like 100% of what's going on. The lips real quick, by the way, it's my Melted Nude from LA Colors. I love this shade. Anytime you're not sure what to put on your lips, it's like, that's perfect. But then I decided to brown it up a little bit with Milani Understatement Lip Liner in Rich Cocoa. I didn't really coat my lips big time in this, but I defined a little bit and lightly blended it in on top of that lipstick. And then I've got some e.l.f. lip gloss on. This is the Glow Reviver Lip Oil in the Plumping collection. Shade is Piggy Bank. Just gives me a little bit of shine and life on there. Bottom line, this is a pricey palette. I want to like everything that's going on in there. I like the size. I like the mirror. I enjoy the concept of this palette, the idea of a quick look. Everything's in there. There's not a lot of guesswork. The finished look that I come away with, I like. But then you look at this and you think, this palette is roughly $20 more. Let's just round up and call this $70, and let's round up and call this one $50. And this one that I just reviewed has like all of this in there, and it was all workable, good quality stuff, multiple textures. I don't know, does name brand mean a lot to you? I mean, Laura Geller's a good name brand too. I stand behind much more of Laura Geller's stuff than I do Charlotte Tilbury's. For me personally, that name kind of does mean more. That's a much better value if you're really trying to pack in some stuff and get some different looks and use some different textures, and it still feels super compact. This palette, it does give you that very luxury Charlotte Tilbury feel. I mean, just to hold the palette, to look at the front of it, like, that's stunning. You open it up, okay, it looks promising, and then you start zoning in here, and that's just my one issue. Okay, so I'm just laying that out there for you. You make your own decisions on what you like and what you want. I am glad I went with this tone of the palette as opposed to the lighter tone, just because I feel like that palette in itself would have had at least a few ways that I wasn't satisfied, you know? But here I've got a lot that I enjoy, and I'll keep using it, but I really like to review things with the mindset of, if you only use this, not that, oh, you spent $69 on this palette, and to be satisfied with the eyeshadows, you need to have X, Y, and Z over here to pull in and make it all come together. I don't like to review things with that mindset. But did it create the full look? It did get the look done. You're gonna put on your coverage products that you like, and then you have a powder in there you can use, bronzer, multiple blushes. You got the eyeshadows, you're gonna pull in your own mascara and liners and your own lip colors. I would love to know in the comments section what you think about this palette, what you think about the lighter tone if you've tried that. Please weigh in and share your experiences below, but I just wanted to share mine and let you guys know what I was thinking on this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon in my next video. I love you guys. Bye.